My name is Armin, and this is going to be our first panel on a series of conversations with educators around the world, and it's on the topic of social and emotional learning. What is social and emotional learning? It's how our interactions with people and our interactions with our emotions impact our relationships with our colleagues, with our students, and with our teachers, and we want to always improve our relationships. Because success in life is not only getting the best grade, success in life is also, doing the best that we can in our relationships. So today's topic is going to relate to a podcast um, by Dr. Vivek Murthy and Brene Brown. The podcast was on the topic of loneliness and connection. And what they basically talked about was how our relationships to ourself also impact our relationships with each other. And also that our health is impacted by feeling lonely, and we always want to be able to improve our relationships. So, my co moderator is Natasha. Hi, Natasha.
Hi. Uh, are you going to introduce yourself first?
Yes, I can definitely introduce myself. So, my name is Armin, as I said before, and I'm an educator originally from New York, but I was working in Mauritius for the past year and a half, and I'm passionate about teaching kids who are learning English. And instead of just being it about teaching English, I also want my students to build relationships with each other so that everyone in the classroom is important, just like everyone in our global Zoom or Facebook Live is important, and everyone's voice matters. So this is an opportunity to do that together.
Thank you, Armin. What a wonderful opportunity to have a global discussion. I'm really excited about this. So my name is Natasha. I am in New Jersey right now. I am an educator in Trenton Public Schools. I'm also a teacher educator and teacher trainer at the College of New Jersey. For the past 6 months, I was in Egypt as an English language fellow, and I had to come back in a hurry because of coronavirus. But I'm so glad that we can still be connected and talk about this important topic of social emotional learning together. And I believe that classrooms should not be competitive, but we need to teach more collaboration. So collaboration, not competition. That's my philosophy.
Beautiful. Thank you, Natasha. And I think we all share a very similar philosophy of teaching and of life. So I'm going to just quickly present each of our presenters today, and they will introduce themselves, just say their name, and that's it. So our first presenter is Marciano from the Philippines. Hi, Marciano.
Hello everyone. Kamusta po kayong lahat dyan sa Philippines? And I hope that you are all doing good, safe, and COVID-free. That's it.
Beautiful. Our next presenter is going to be Karen from Mauritius.
Hi everyone. So my name is Karen Sital, and I'm a chemistry and science educator from Mauritius. Et donc bonsoir à tous et bonsoir à tous les profs de l'île Maurice qui nous rejoignent ce soir.
Beautiful. Our next presenter will be Bubakar. Hi, Bubakar.
Hello, hi everybody. Nangadef, how are you doing over there? I'm very happy to be among you today for sharing this podcast, teaching and sharing at the same time what we can learn from that podcast in order to inspire the worldwide about this topical topic, which is emotional and loneliness, how we can implement and help our students to be successful in life. Thank you.
Fabulous. And Tahani from Egypt.
Yeah, hello, Armin. Hello, everyone. My name is Tahani Rushdi. I work as a teacher of English at Egypt. Armin asked me to say hello in my language, so assalamu alaikum. And I'm happy to see your faces with no masks and interact with you. So glad that I can wear makeup and cover my face. And I hope we can rock today.
Lovely. Thank you, Tahani. So what we'll start with is just a short audio. And this is a model of teaching and talking that can also apply in your classrooms. What we're doing here is we've shared a audio, and then we've all talked about our favorite quotes inside of it. And then we have to share why we like this quote, why it's important to us. So this is the first audio. I'll just play a short part of him describing Dr. Vivek Murthy, who is a doctor, talking about loneliness. And you could just hear a little definition of loneliness.
Saw a uniformed service of 6,600 officers dedicated to safeguarding the health of the nation. Dr. Murthy, or Vivek as I call him in our interview, has a new book out on loneliness. And God, it just hit me right and just pierced my heart a little bit. The book is called Together, The Healing Power of Human Connection in a Sometimes Lonely World. And we're going to dig in today about what is loneliness, what isn't loneliness, and how we can be more connected to ourselves and to each other. This is an important episode for me. I can really battle loneliness sometimes, even with people I love. And he helped me kind of dig in and understand. So I hope it resonates. I hope you get something out of it. This is such an important time to be talking not only about what loneliness is, but about what loneliness is not. And so can we just start at the very beginning? What is loneliness?
Well, I'll answer that in two ways, Brene. I'll tell you what researchers and scientists would say loneliness is, and then I'll tell you what people, real people in communities across the country told me loneliness was. Loneliness, as you'll see it defined in the literature, is a discrepancy, a gap, if you will, between the connections that you need and the social connections that you have. It's by definition a subjective term. What that also means is it's different from objective terms like isolation, which are more descriptors of the number of people you have around you. So I can have many people around me and feel quite lonely, but I could also have just a few people around me and not be lonely at all. It's often about the quality of my connections both to myself and to the people around me. But there's what people, I think, describe as loneliness and how they experience it in their own lives. When I was Surgeon General, I began my tenure visiting communities across the country, and I didn't ask people about loneliness. Actually, I asked them just...
He's going to go on to continue describing what loneliness is in the lives of people. But what we want to do as a group is also discuss what loneliness looks like in each of our countries. Because this is very important and it looks very different. Connection and loneliness looks different. So I'm going to introduce our first presenter, and his name is Marciano. And he is an educator from the Philippines, and he's going to share his insights. He's currently taking a master's degree in education, focusing on English language teaching. And formerly, he was a high school educator and a senior one, and later he shifted to ESL instruction for Japanese adult learners. So he's going to share his experiences. He's passionate about learning with various technologies and can help educators learn and language enthusiasts and learners to become skilled communicators and voices for change in their own life. So, I'd like to start off just by asking you, Marciano, can you share with us, what was your favorite quote from the podcast, please?
Okay, thank you, Armin. So, what I'd like more about the podcast I've listened to was Dr. Murthy uses metaphor to compare loneliness to a life-threatening effect of smoking 15 cigarettes a day and to obesity. Additionally, when he says that it increases the risk of depression, anxiety, heart disease, and many others. I agree to that because I was once a victim of my own grief. Maybe this is due to numerous factors that push me to feel deep loneliness. At first, I was reluctant and told myself that those challenges I have experienced were just part of human existence, a human nature indeed. until such time I have come to realize that I was not okay. And the loneliness inside of me became worse and worse. Back then, I have the feeling that the sadness inside of me cannot be contained nor cannot be controlled. Not because I have no one to talk to, but because I chose to keep it myself. Until such time that I have started to feel some changes inside of me. I lost my appetite, my weight, and even at night I couldn't sleep well. I also become more emotional to the extent that I kept on overthinking. And lastly, I've noticed that it affects my teaching career.
Mm.
Everything, everything changes in just snap of a finger. Okay? Now, but since the COVID-19 occurred, at first I thought it would worsen and worsen the loneliness I am feeling. But I was wrong. I've come to realize that not only negative effects of these, but as well as the positive effects that has brought me. This situation gives me a lot of reason to focus on self-love and healing while spending quality time with my family, my ever supportive family here in the Philippines. I did vent out my experiences to them and also may it be good or bad, which I think I haven't done this before. I also got the chance to talk to my colleague who used to be a psychologist, and I'm grateful to have her because he gave me a profound advice, which I think it truly helped me to become, to become myself again. Therefore, I must say that loneliness is more than just our feelings, but rather it is more than just the effects, not only to our state of mind, but also to the entirety or the wholeness of ourselves. And I would say that loneliness is inevitable. No one can escape from this. Even a successful person who has everything in life. More so an excellent psychologist who used to be an expert on their field feel the same way. The only difference is that they are aware on how to cope and treat this. Truly, that money can buy and heal loneliness. It is us who can heal our own loneliness. And all we need is acceptance and the power of will and the courage to become better at all times. So I am here today bravely representing people who are experiencing the same situation. And my advice is to always look for yourself. Find time for self-love and do not try to become somebody. Always become or always think of becoming unique every day. And if that's happened, for sure you can make a difference. That's all.
Marciano, can I ask you a follow-up question to that?
Yes.
So,
sure.
What is your perspective as an educator? Like, do you see loneliness in your classroom? And as an educator, how have you perceived it? How have you addressed it, if at all?
Well, actually, based on my students, I see them lonely, sitting at the table or on their chair. And once I talk to them, and I feel that they are lonely, not because they have problem in their family, but because they don't have someone to talk to. So to address that problem, I think the only way is to communicate to them, to share or to let them feel that you are here, that I am here, not just an educator, but as their second parent, listening to their stories and listening to what they could give. And that would be all.
I love what you said. Actually, to be a good listener is the basis of a relationship, and I love that you said that you want to be a listener to hear their stories, because we all have so many stories within us, but often we don't have anybody to talk to or to tell those stories. So I think that's a wonderful advice for an educator. Thank you, Marciano.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I really appreciate it because, we're not only teachers, but like you said, we're, parents of the young people that we work with. And I think that's such a beautiful point because it's important to remember that. Yes.
Thank you very much,
Armin,
Armin.
can I add something?
Please.
Bubakar. Bubakar, go ahead.
Okay, I think the intervention of Marciano is quite full of teaching. As an educator, I think that our students are facing this, this loneliness in their daily life. Talking about my experience, sometimes it happens to me to see a student in my class who is physically present, but he is or she is mindly absent. When you talk to her or to him, what happens? He is moved or she is moved. They cannot say anything about what they are living or what they are suffering. The problem is they are not listened at home or in the society. And as a teacher, we have to use our society and to talk about administrations or parents to be listened, to be a good listeners, to listen to the child, to listen to their kids, what they are suffering from their daily life. And that's what my colleague Marciano has raised. And in the perspective of teaching and learning, I think this issue must be taken into deep consideration for helping and assisting our students to be successful in their life as well in their school. Thank you. Here is my short intervention for this point.
Oh, thank you very much, Bobakar, for telling that. Truly, that we have the power, not just only as an educator, but also, as I said earlier, as a parent to them. Okay, so what we need to do is to connect not just only us, but also let's involve their parents so that they could appreciate that um, there are something or there is someone who could love them.
Right. And just to piggyback on what Marciano and Bubakar both said, like being a good listener and listening not only to their sad stories, I think, or what trauma they may have gone through, but also to their triumphs. Something good happened and they want to tell somebody, and we want to be there to listen to that too. So I think the basis of a good relationship is really to be able to listen. So that's my 2 cents, Armin.
Beautiful. And I think that, as teachers, we may define teaching in very different ways in each of our cultures. But I think in all of our classrooms, the deeper that we can listen, and now we're listening digitally. Unfortunately, we can't see our students. So we can only listen to them through technology. But even with technology, we can connect with them and make them feel what Marciano was just describing, Bubakar as well, a loving presence. And I think that if someone feels that you love and care about them, they're more likely to love and care about you and want to learn from you.
I want to add more.
Please.
Just a little. Is it okay?
Please. It's for all of us. Go ahead.
Okay, so let me add this information. make sure that once we listen to our learners or to our students, let's make sure that we are okay also as a teacher. We are on the
Mm,
right mind because we cannot give advice to our students or even our parents. We couldn't give advice to our students or to our son or daughters if we couldn't have a good mental state. So it's better if we um, take care of our mental state and the whole being in us, just like that.
I completely agree.
yeah.
And I think that there's different ways for us to take care of ourselves, and we all need to be conscious that if we're not feeling well, it's time to do something to take care of ourselves before we can take care of our students. Similar to how, if we imagined in an airplane when the oxygen pipe is going down, luckily, thank God, none of us have been inside of an airplane going down. But my example is that when they give that example of an emergency, you must put the oxygen on yourself, and then you can put it on the child or the person near you. So this is what we need to do for our students, but we can't do that for them if we don't do that for ourselves.
Exactly.
Thank you, Marciano, and everyone who's shared. And I'm going to introduce our next presenter, okay, who is Karen. She's an educator from Mauritius, and she teaches chemistry. She also enjoys using her musical skills to create original educational content and connect with people in that way. So go ahead, Karen. Please share your favorite quote, and we'd like to hear what you liked about the podcast.
Thank you, Armin. So my favorite quote from the podcast actually springs off from what Marciano said earlier. The quote is, the foundation for connecting with other people is connecting to ourselves. And that is very meaningful to me because when I am the teacher and when I'm anxious, when I'm angry or depressed, or when I'm facing personal issues, I get very close to communication and I can't really connect with other people, my students. So obviously they will shut off also. So what Brene and Dr. Vivek mentioned in the podcast is to let the noise settle and center ourselves and be in a place of peace. And that is so important because it brings so many benefits when we are in this internal state. So then we can allow the flow of our own ideas to be clear, and we can also open the space to welcome the voices of our students. And also it can encourage patience, empathy, and like a safe space for young people to relate to each other and to me also. So um, that is a very important thing for me, and that's the quote with which I resonated the most in the podcast.
Thank you, Karen. It's true. We need to create safety in our relationships. And a follow-up question that I have is, how do you personally deal with and cope with loneliness? And how do people in your country cope and deal with loneliness?
So with the current pandemic, I found out that I had the gift of time, and I am blessed enough to be in comfortable and safe conditions. So my way of coping right now is to keep my mind active and to keep my body active also, because I tend to overthink. And when I overthink, I lose track of my goals. And so that's not really good for me. So what I do to cope with loneliness right now is to keep learning on things that I already love. For instance, I play music. I continue with my online flute lessons. I read a lot on things that interest me most, like self-help books or storybooks even. And I've been trying some new calming activities like yoga and meditation, and this helps a lot. And so this is it. I keep active by practicing kickboxing because I do so already, and that's how I'm coping with loneliness right now. So keeping my mind active and keeping my body active are the main things for me.
Thank you, Karen. It kind of makes me think, where we put our attention, it will grow. So if we're feeling really stressed and we keep thinking about feeling stressed, then we're going to create more stress. And then if we're feeling, that we're excited about something, then we're going to feel excited about something. I know for me, presently, I don't have a job where I'm teaching formally now, and it's very uncomfortable for me to just be on my own. And I reach out a lot so that I don't feel alone, so I don't get super, sad or depressed, because I really need to reach out to teachers and students and to feel that I have a purpose and I can, serve in some way that's bigger than me. And I like what you're sharing about, you know, caring for ourselves. So I don't know if anyone else would like to share how they are coping with, being isolated, but we'd love to hear other people's experiences. It's important.
I can speak a little bit, just because we've been home for so long now, over 2 months. And I liked that I didn't have to wake up in the morning and be somewhere on time, like be out of the house by 7:30 and be at school before 8. So I'm using that time to do yoga with YouTube. And also when I was in Egypt, I really wanted to learn belly dancing and I never got a chance. So I found online tutorials and I'm just teaching myself. And, when I do that, that's my happy place and it helps me cope with everything else. So I just feel like we should have a happy place to go to. And yeah, I was wondering if Tahani wants to jump in with anything because we haven't heard from her yet.
Okay, for me and my family, we try to make our comfort zone on our house, maybe making a garden in the roof or putting some, like a little cafe for our own family. So we somehow spending a nice time in there and feeling like we got out of home. So it's quite helping us to cope with being strict at home by COVID-19. Well, I also sometimes use Twitter. It helped me a lot to, get my thoughts out. That's all.
Very cool. Okay.
Fabulous. So I'm going to present. I think what you were talking about, just want to comment on it, Dani, about connecting with our family. I think it's such an important topic. I think, at least for me, I'll talk about me. Family for me is a source of love and care and also much stress.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else feels this, but this is how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So, and we're also, stuck with our family. You can't choose or they say you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family, or whatever it is. But we have to deal with this, and it's not easy. And also, our students have to deal with their family. A lot of young people are now, it's very sad, are in abusive situations, and they can't go anywhere. They can't go to school. It's very sad. And I think that it's a serious issue. So I just share this as a topic that, if we can be that loving presence that, Boubacar and Marciano were talking, we can give someone a sense of family beyond what their family is. Because it's very easy to feel that this is my family and I'm enslaved,
Yeah, but for me, I think COVID-19 helped me to gather with my family because we always away. Everyone is somewhere, and this is the first time we spend the iftar Eid together, and it was fun and I loved it. It's like something positive happened to me in these days because we don't spend much time together. So we are now forced to stay home and be together. And that's really good.
I feel exactly the same. My parents, just to share a story about me, my parents divorced when I was very young, and I was kind of back and forth between my mom and my dad, and I didn't really grow up a lot with my father, so I haven't had much of a relationship with him. And when I came back from Mauritius, I was in quarantine, and it was the first time, 32 years old, that I really was like me and my dad. And it was very hard, but at the same time, it was our relationship deepened through that challenging time of forcing to be together. So I agree with you, Tahani. I don't know if anyone else wants to share their experience of being with family during this time.
Definitely, I have something to share concerning about family in this COVID-19 pandemic, because this COVID-19 pandemic, we can see it into two angles. It's a kind of double-edged sword, because in some part we are really connected with as important and nice people, but in the other hand, we are very well connected to our family. Imagine, as a professional, he was expected to leave early in the morning and come back lately in the evening.
Right.
It's a kind of disconnection, a total disconnection with your family. But due to the pandemic or the COVID-19, people are staying at home, talking, caring, sharing, discussing, doing everything with their family. In this angle, this COVID-19 can be seen as a positive way, in my understanding. And here in our culture in Senegal, we do consider or we value the factor of living together, because here we do everything together. People, they eat together, they drink together, they have tea together, and they sleep together. And this COVID-19 pandemic has helped us to reconstruct or to rebuild or to rethink or having again these wonderful moments that our ancestors or our great grandparents used to have. In this sense, I can say that the COVID-19, I myself, has impacted me positively to my family and to my relatives and so on and so forth. Here is my say concerning this connection about family. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I just want
couldn't
to applaud
agree
him.
more.
Yeah, me too, honestly.
I love hearing that, that
Beautiful.
things there's such a beautiful silver lining to this cloud of, COVID-19. I love what you said, Bobakar. I wish all families could be experiencing something like that, but I don't know if that's happening in every family. I think some people are not that happy that they have to be with other people all the time. But I just enjoyed hearing what you said.
Marciano, do you want to add anything? I know you wanted to share.
I'm really happy and thrilled about what Bubakar said a while ago, that COVID-19, that Bubakar see COVID-19 as in a positive way, not in more in a negative way. So yeah, here in the Philippines, I've seen a lot of people, a lot of Filipino people, who are um, sharing their stories of positivity. You know what? Um, according to them, this COVID-19 pandemic allows them to become more aware of their surroundings and allow them to connect more to their family. Okay, so this is something that we could never forget. Okay, because it allows us to connect more, to communicate more with our family.
Tahani, we cannot. If you, I don't know if you were sharing. We can't hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me? I'm here. About family, I have to say something else. Sometimes it's like, doesn't help me to do a lot of things that I need to do, like attending some sessions or, attending online courses. They are here everywhere. And if I wanted to do something, they, all the time, like, destroy it for me. Noise, doors, and everything. So it's quite hard to work or study from home. Um, Back to the loneliness part I liked from the podcast. I have many actually, but I'm gonna choose this one. And I see. Second.
I'm going to introduce you to Hani just
Okay.
before, so that people know more about you, and then you can totally share. Okay?
Okay.
Let me just introduce as you find. Sorry, you go ahead, Natasha. Please.
Let me introduce Tahani, because I think we've met Tahani, right? At probably one of the meetings.
Met on Real Mentor training.
Yes, I think at Pyramisa, when you all were at Pyramisa.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a good time.
I know, pre-COVID times, right?
Yeah.
So Tahani works. Ooh, sorry, something just went past my street.
Never mind.
Tahani works as a teacher and a teacher educator for the National Teacher Training Program provided by the British Council, Sharqi, and she is a Sharqiya coordinator for the same project. She is a Relo Mentor Teacher 2020 and a Nile TESOL presenter. She is passionate about motivating teachers and students, helping teachers to take their first step at their professional development, and students to be more aware of learner-centered learning. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, go Tahani. I just wanted to tell you that I love your idea of the rooftop garden. When you mentioned the rooftop garden, that's I saw in Cairo. They're so beautiful.
I'm gonna send you a picture after we finish it. We are still working on decorating it, but it's really amazing. Yeah, I feel like I'm outside of home. Yeah, really amazing.
Okay, go ahead.
And I see this is I have many parts that I like, but I'm gonna talk about a part that is a little bit related to me. And I see this from personal experience, having spent many years of my life not being in a good place of connection with myself, feeling insecure about who I was, trying to be somebody else. And I'm bringing that to my interactions with other people. And it didn't feel good as human beings. We are extraordinary. I prefer this part because it's more related to me and the deep definition of loneliness in my country. Because in Cairo, it's about Egypt in general. It's quite bit difficult to feel lonely because we have people everywhere, and the city doesn't sleep. And as you said, I think you saw this, Natasha, we have people everywhere, we have strong families, we have if you got out of your home anytime, people are still awake, cafes are open, and we have a really strong relationship. But I'm talking about something is accepting other or being judgmented by society because you have a different beliefs or points of views or something you cannot announce to people. And I feel people here, however they are connected, and you feel like you cannot feel loneliness in our society, but I believe we feel it in another way. When you have to fake yourself or your character or your beliefs for not being judgmented from society, and this happening all the time. It's not common. I'm not saying it as all, but I think children were raised to be a little bit closed-minded to their ideas. If you are a little different from me, so I cannot relate, I cannot accept you. And we need to start to change our thinking and how we raised our children, and not to stick to their own beliefs, and they need to start to think that there is someone else who is different, but this doesn't mean that he is not good, and I cannot I shouldn't just stick to my ideas, and anyone else is not good. So I myself sometimes suffer from taking some of my ideas, because the people in front of me are just closed-minded, and they will not accept it, or accept me, and this happens all the time. So however, it looks like you can't suffer loneliness in Egypt, but if you had to live this, it's quite difficult. And that's all. One more thing is raising children on perfections, and they have to do everything perfect. I think this can make them feel lonely, because they have to be their true characters. They not have to be we are human beings. We shouldn't be perfect all the time. We could be ourselves, even if not acceptable from your point of view. You have to respect that.
I want to share, that's such a beautiful point. It reminds me of a Khalil Gibran poem that describes how he's a poet from Lebanon, and he says exactly the same thing about children. They come through you, but they're not yours. And I think that's really hard for us as parents and teachers, because we want every single student to get A+. We want every single student to be perfect. We want every single student to be exactly, what we want. But like you're saying, we are an influence on our children, on our students, but we are not controlling their lives. Very good.
Sasha, do you have any questions? Follow-up questions?
Yeah, I have a follow-up question for you, and then it can also go to others as well. And my question is, are people in your country resilient? And resilient, just to define it for all of our friends listening, it's our ability to have a problem and to be able to come back stronger, to be able to bounce back. I just share this one more quote that I heard today. It relates to resilience. The quote is, character is basically your ability to persist on what you do on the fourth and the fifth try. That means first try. This is a quote by James Michener. Second try, third try, no good, failure in the eyes of society and in the eyes of whoever. But our character is our ability to keep trying, right? This is about resilience. So maybe Tahani and others as well, but first Tahani, are people in Egypt resilient, in your opinion?
I'm not quite sure of this. I got the meaning of resilient, like they accept others, but now you are telling me something else. So
It's kind of like accepting, but what it means is, even if you have a problem, instead of saying,
trying.
Problem, I give up, I don't give up. I think of a creative solution. This is
I
Brazilian.
can't hear you.
Sorry. Resilience is creative problem solving. Creative problem solving. Yeah.
I have some bad connection now. I can't hear you. Can you write it?
Sure, I'll write it
you
for you.
Start to
And
say, it's like,
This is also for all of our friends who are listening on Facebook Live. Are people in your country resilient? Resilient the definition is someone who can do creative problem solving. So it can be open, it doesn't have to just be for Tahani, but anyone can answer. Are people in your country resilient?
Oh, absolutely. I just want to share my thoughts about this. Absolutely, yes. I consider Filipino people are resilient in my country because, as I have said earlier, um, these are inculturated by our more Malay forefathers. The spirit of optimism and bayanihan. Apart from it, Filipinos are known for our ability to smile through our troubles, and we always find something to laugh about even in difficult times, especially if we um, face a lot of difficulties like storm surge, tsunami, and so on and so forth. But even if we move forward not too quickly, but we find ourselves happy, not because it happens, but we know that there is something that we could look into. Okay. Another thing is that um, the spirit of Filipino people has been proven because we don't forget to find reason to smile despite of our inability to move forward quickly. Furthermore, to reveal our secret ingredients to happiness are two things. One is food. Yes, you heard it right. One is food, and two is faith. Yeah, food because food is one of the reasons why Filipino people have a smile on their faces. It sounds unusual for you, but for us, food is life because it is deeply ingrained in our culture. Actually, in Filipino psychology, it says that having food on the table is equated to survival. You may experience it once you visited the Philippines. We can eat together so that you could experience that. Second is faith. We believe that we can overcome loneliness if we have a strong faith to God, the Creator. And we also live in a culture that we see obstacles as a test of faith, and overcoming it is one of the ultimate awards that we could have. And that is, I think, my definition of resilience here in my country.
For me, as I now know the meaning of resilience, I think Egyptian people are the kings of resilience. So they always deal with problems and challenges with a smile and joking and, accepting the cruel life with a big smile. They enjoying being suffer and start to fix problems with most easiest and simple ways. They always, all the time, they always survive, they always have their own way to get out of problems and challenges, and they always rock. I know, I think.
Come back to me. I have something to share with you concerning resilience.
Okay.
In countries different from, it's very different from one country to another one. Let me take an example of this COVID-19 regarding the Senegalese society in this pandemic crisis. We have noticed that our people presently the young people, they become more resilient to fix and solve this pandemic in our local areas. How? Because many innovators, many young entrepreneurs have created excellent and wonderful stuff to stop the COVID-19. Just to give you an example, many hygiene products have been created locally by our young entrepreneurs. It's also, even our governors was not able to understand such motivation and such creativity that our young people and talent have during this pandemic crisis. Another positive aspect of resilient Senegalese people can be seen in terms of sensitizing the people in this crisis. Another example is, in every district, those who live in those respective districts have taken their own respective preventive measures, not dictated by the health professional, but in collaboration with the health professional in order to stop the spreading of this COVID-19. Now come back to school. As our students' resilience to solve challenges or problems that schools are facing, I could say yes. I witnessed one of my students creating a very nice, I can say a very nice board in the school for helping the administration to post the information and to help other students to be aware of what's happening in that school. That's really interesting and important as students to try to know what are the problems and try to be a problem solver and try to fix those problems in order to take part, in order to be active, not only in your community, but also in your school. Because the starting of its society starts in schools. If we able to spark our students the skill of creativity and the skills of being resilient toward your community, I think those challenges that each societies are facing can be fixed in a very early delay. In this angle, I really appreciate the resilience of my community and also the resilience of some of my students.
That's beautiful. I think what you're explaining makes me want to comment, Bubakar, that our classrooms are a microcosm for the world. So what happens inside of our classrooms is a small experience of what happens across the world. So if we have a class where our students are creating solutions for the problems that they face, this is a very different type of classroom where the teacher comes in, all the kids shut up, and they just copy whatever is being said. So to me, it's a beautiful example of what you're sharing from Senegal. I'm going to just introduce you, Bubakar,
Yes,
just so, and then I want to hear your quote. And yes, so just so that our listeners know who you are. So Bubakar is a young and motivated ESL teacher of English in Senegal. He's an American English alumnus, and after completing many programs, he's currently a facilitator and a manager in many of the RELO programs. And as well, he's doing these WhatsApp teaching panels with teachers. He's fortunate to teach a group of various ages, from preschool to high school. And he's also passionate about professional development, reading, sharing, and interacting with people, as you are doing right now so beautifully. So maybe you can just share with us, Bubakar, what was your favorite quote from the podcast that really touched you deeply?
Yeah, thank you, Amin, for this nice presentation. And allow me also to thank my my peers from overseas for their brilliant insight and fruitful sharings. Now, come back to my favorite quote. During the podcast, I have listened from top to the end, and it was full of teaching and full of inspiration. Because Dr. Vivek is someone who is very special, I can say. But among or through long this podcast, I come across to this wonderful sentence or quote that is, being and doing are two parts of who we are, but the doing part is guided by the being.
Oof.
It's a very powerful this quotation. In my understanding in this quote, Dr. Vivek seems to say that human being is naturally a social being. We cannot live without society. We are doomed to live with people. We are doomed to frequent environment from another environment. Now, as a human being, if you're lucky or if you frequent positive environment, positive person, positive areas, you can become probably a positive person, and through that positive person, you can perform positive and nice actions. In the other ways, if you are unlucky to frequent or to come across nice or negative person, probably you will act in a very negative way, because your actions or whatever you do is controlled by your environment. Everything that you are doing in life, we can say, is controlled, or people have impact on those actions. Now, if you come across to be a positive person who positive, nice, and good places, you will become a positive person. In the contrary, if you are unlucky to come across negative person, frequenting negative environment, you will act like a negative person. That's it, my understanding through this powerful quotation of Dr. Vivek.
Beautiful, Bubakar. It's really true. You know, our relationships are a foundation for how we communicate, and often we are mirrors for each other. So if I come yelling at you, you will come yelling back at me. If I come talking kind to you, you will talk kind to me. So the way that we, interact is the way people interact with us.
I want to add something, Armin.
Please.
I think you are the best mirror I ever met. You always inspire us to be more calm with our students, and you always, such a great model for us. And I see how you deal with us. Yeah, I love you all. If you are you responded, I love you. If you didn't, you are great.
Yeah, it was.
You're a good model for us.
Because, it was in the end of the podcast. I just want to comment when he said, all people are looking for is love. They want to feel cared for. This is what we are looking for. All of our students want our love. All of our parents, right, he put it up, the symbol, Marciano. Even when someone's yelling at you, it's because they're frustrated with you, because they're not getting your love, or whatever the issue is. It all comes from a lack of love or love. And this, I think, is what bonds all of our cultures, because we show love in different ways. I do have a follow-up question for you, Bubakar, okay?
Yes, come on.
And it will be for everyone as well. I'd like to know, you described it as well a bit, but how are students coping and teachers coping with isolation during COVID in Senegal? Because you talked about some examples of, people doing things, but I'm sure not everyone is able to, be so proactive. So people are coping in different ways. So go ahead.
Yeah, this is a very important questions that need to be addressed, I think so. Uh, I think the COVID-19, we haven't not just one COVID-19 here in Senegal. We have two COVID-19 because the other COVID-19 is the loneliness and the disconnection that our society is facing recently. The COVID-19 has reviewed and rebuilt our way of living and our daily way of interacting through person to person. Let's take the example of students. In Senegal, according to the representative of the UNICEF, 3.5 million students were impacted by the COVID-19. This number is very telling. 3.5 million students were impacted by the COVID-19, according to the representative of UNICEF in Senegal. It shows a lot how they are impacted. Are they impacted only in terms of learning? Are they impacted only in terms of social interaction? Or are they impacted only in terms of moving, coming, discussing, and doing everything? I don't think so. The most impact that students are suffering or facing recently or nowadays in our society in Senegal is the loneliness and the social disconnection that students are suffering right now. They was accustomed to have class every day. And when we talk about having class, it means to live with others, interacting with your mate and your classmate. Now, due to the COVID-19, there is a total shifting between the past habit and the recent habit. And now, what are the consequences of these disruptions, of this breaking down? They are numerous. Because my students, who am I very close to them, they often call me and telling, we are bored. It's boring to stay at home every day. It's boring to repeat doing what you do every day. Because of the lockdown, people are not going outside homes. They are staying homes, and students are the most one who suffer a lot from this lockdown. Another example is the curfew. Even yesterday, here in Senegal, in many areas, people was doing demonstrations. What was the cause of that demonstrations? They just want to stop this curfew. They say it's enough because it's not our reality. People here are connected. People here, they live together. People, they share everything. You cannot imagine staying one day without going and pay visit your relatives or your neighbors. It's out of question. But now, due to the COVID-19, people are staying, and the fact of staying at home can create other disease or can create other virus more dangerous than the COVID-19. And it's what happens yesterday, the demonstration of people in the street of Dhaka. The other aspect of these questions is regarding we teachers in Senegal. We were lucky to meet every other Wednesday or every other Saturday for SEN meetings or for professional concern. But what happens during the COVID-19. Teachers stay at their homes. They are not moving. They are not movable. And some of my colleagues, they claim that, Boubacar, I'm suffering. I ask them, what do you suffer from? They say, I have problem to update my skills. The problem of updating your teaching skills. Teachers are suffering so. The other problem is we teachers or my colleagues often tell me that we are suffering. What do we suffer? Is the disconnection that we have from this COVID-19 is impacting on our financial budget. And it's also a very relevant point that we teachers here are suffering from. And now come back to the society, how they are living in the COVID-19. We cannot describe this event. It's tricky, very sad. If you go out to your home, you see people, they are always in a very pity situation. Because what COVID-19 don't want to spread, and that ones are our daily reality. Let's take the example of preventive measures. Our health professionals dictated some preventive measures that everybody have to take into consideration. Example, the social distancing. Imagine here in Senegal, you talk with a person respecting the distance. It's somehow a kind of, the one would be frustrated because it's not part of their habit. They don't know it. They never experience it. And it's very sad. It can create another problem. The isolation and the confinements and the curfew, they are measures dictated by who? Personally also dictated by our health professionals. And these measures, I mean, people are not respecting them 500% because they cannot imagine this. They cannot imagine this. What was their past habit was to be in contact, was to be connected with your peers or with your society.
It's a really good point. I was just going to say, go for it, yeah.
Okay, to end, I would say that this COVID-19 has brought another COVID-19 in Senegal, and that COVID-19 is the social disconnection and the social loneliness. Thank you again.
It's such a good point, Boubacar.
Sorry for being long.
No, you're passionate, and all of us are passionate, and I think that's what's beautiful about this. Is if we're not passionate, what kind of a teacher do you want to have? Someone who's like there, like, welcome, we're so happy you're here, clap. Or do you want to have someone who can't stop talking because they love what they do, right? We're all these people who love what we do and who want to share that love. So I'm just going to comment, it's a challenge because we're facing a big change, and, our different societies, we want to relate to each other. And digital relation is not the same as human relationship, unfortunately. And I think that screen. Okay. Yes. So I want to just share with everyone basically that, we're going to do our wrap up. And what have you learned, even in just 30 seconds? Because, the basic idea is that, we are connected and we are isolated. And we need to do things to feel better, because if we don't, one of the things he said is, people who are isolated, they die quicker. They have more health problems. So this is not just about, oh, I feel sad today. This is what you're feeling right now will impact how long you live. So this is much deeper than just how I feel today. And we need to teach this to our students. But anything that you want to share, kind of final reflection, I'll just share what I've learned. I mean, what I've learned is that, we're all trying to make sense of our own personal sense of isolation. And once we realize how we can do this in ourselves, we can help our students. And maybe Natasha, you can share, and then everyone can just share a little something, a little piece of wisdom.
So I think having a collaboration like this is amazing, because even if I can't connect with my students right now here in New Jersey, I am able to connect with all of you in different countries at the same time. And that is something amazing that this COVID-19 has brought for me, this ability. So I think let's make use of the time that we have and let's connect and share ideas. It's invaluable. When do we get to do this? Otherwise, we don't have the time. So that's my little piece of it, just my thought. Go ahead, somebody else, Karen.
Yeah, so thank you. All I can say right now is thank you all for really sharing honestly and deeply what you think about connection and loneliness and how all of this has affected your personal lives and your professional lives. And I really appreciate the sharing that has been going on, and I'm really looking forward to more, so that we can so that we can really go deeply into maybe something that you've mentioned that you want to talk deeply about it, then in our future series. Then I'm looking forward to that.
Honey?
For me, I think it's a really great experience seeing you all in different countries and cultures and sharing ideas, and the brainstorming that Armin did to us before this meeting by sharing the podcast with us and many questions to think and to start to think of yourself and your attitude situation from loneliness. Am I lonely or I'm not? Sometimes it's just people don't confess to themselves that they are lonely, and this appears in another way, like anger or being aggressive with people.
Yes.
It's not and it's not showing in just someone is staying in the corner and not talking to everybody is a lonely one. It can be an attitude, and this gave me a chance to know, to learn more about the definition of loneliness and its aspects. And I advise everyone who watching this to listen to the podcast. It's quite interesting and have a lot of information that helps you to, deeply think inside yourself.
Go ahead, Marcia.
Okay, regarding my wrap up session, um, I just want to say this is a great opportunity for all of us, teachers or educators around the globe, because we come to share our experiences during this pandemic, and this is a good way to connect more to other people and to know that we are not alone in the battle, that we have other educators who are experiencing loneliness. What we can do is to become positive always, to smile, to do not always forget to smile or to find reason to smile and to share positivity, And last but not the least is that I want to share this to you, that we have to find someone or find a group of people where you can be surrounded with good vibrations.
There you go.
And
here,
with
right
that,
here.
yeah, with that being said, if you are surrounded with good vibrations, you can make a difference, a big, big difference. That would
I
be
think,
all.
Marciano, you should make your own podcast and we are going to listen to it. Yeah, God will. Depressing.
There you go. Bubakar, go ahead.
Yes, come back to the wrap-up reflection. I would say that it was a great pleasure and a honor for me to be surrounded with other teachers from the globe who inspired me a lot today, because we are lucky, I would say, because when you are surrounded with people, they can impact you positively, as I said it a while ago. And thank you, Amin, for taking this great achievements and this wonderful job that you are doing so far. I know you know. Then to finish my talk, I would just to urge each of us to be connected, to connect ourselves to connect ourselves with our values, to connect ourselves with our culture, to connect ourselves with our society, and try to reconnect our students with our reality. And I think if we do so, these challenges that each of us or the world are facing can be overcome and fixed quickly. Thank you again for giving me this great opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Let's do a screenshot.
Screenshot of all of us. Okay, so we'll do a screenshot. You can say hello.
Hello.
There, screenshot. Hello. And yeah, maybe we can just say bye in our language. Bye bye. Hello.
Jerejef.
Bye everyone. So good night, Philippines.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. I wanted to add one point about loneliness before we ended. He said there's 3 types of loneliness. Loneliness of intimate relationships. That means, relationships, husband, wife, whatever, or girlfriend, boyfriend. Loneliness of friendships. Friendships are people who, we don't have friends in our lives. Like right now, I can't see my friends. 3rd level, loneliness of a like-minded community of people who believe something
Want
and
to work
are
with.
acting on it. So these all are 3 levels. So if I don't have relationship, intimate, then I feel sad. If I don't have relationship of people who are like-minded, I feel sad. If I don't have friendship, so you miss one of these, you feel empty inside. So think about that for your own life, and this is something to keep in mind. And then if you have any questions, add them in the comments. We want to see your ideas. And thank you. So bye.
Bye. Let's do it again.
Bye everyone.
We're here in 2 weeks. We'll be here again, and we've got more teachers. And thank you.
For sure.
Bye.
Bye, Armin. Bye-bye.
Bye.